Hi, welcome to Looking Through the Glass. Today we have, of course, Giselle, me, and we have our special guest, Benton Savage. You are a very interesting person and have done what most people don't do, and that is write memoirs in the moment, correct?
Correct. I wrote Wrong Side
N-
Out, Madness Misdiagnosed, which is kind of a memoir, but it's really not a memoir. It's more told about my behavior off medication mostly, even though there is some success stories in there. But mostly it's
mhm.
off medication and what was going on in my head at the time I was doing strange behavior, how I was rationalizing my behavior in my mind, how I thought it was the right thing to do, even though it was ridiculous. Is really the focus of the book. And it goes through several hospital visits and it spans about a 10-year period. I wrote it in 2009 and it did not get published. I just got published about in the end of December of 25. And so it sat on the shelf for about 12 or 13 years with nobody looking at it. And a friend of mine read it that was bipolar. And he said, "You're not bipolar, but this is really pretty fascinating for a look at somebody with mental illness." I've never read a book quite like that. He really pushed me to publish it. And it is embarrassing at times. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I'm very honest. My whole thing was I'm going to be as honest as I possibly could. And I mean, I'll leave some stuff out that I just couldn't put in, but I mean, there's no exaggeration in there. I'll tell you that much. It is when I'm standing there ready to jump, I'm ready to jump, and that's right there in my head, right there when I'm doing it.
Wow. And that is something that most people cannot do, have not been able to do.
Positive.
And I think it's very important that, like you were talking, when we were doing the interview, you were talking journaling has helped you in so many ways. And it's just been one of the wonderful ways that you've been able to get a lot of this stuff out. And, I just really, you really, really struck me during our interview with the absolute rawness and openness that you hold, the authenticity behind how, like, for the lack, I don't know, I'm having brain fart right now. I'm having, for all of our listeners today, I'm having a very head trauma day. So please forgive me. Um, but yeah, you were just so raw and authentic and just, and so open minded to a lot of different things. We discussed different things like, um, other medicating, needing
Hmm.
medications, and it not being an actual weakness, that
Hmm.
sometimes we just need those things. And I believe that your memoirs, your books are going to be absolutely guides to people.
Well, I wrote them when I wrote the book. Is I wrote it roughly about in 2008 or 2009. It's been a long time, but I was out of the hospital. I'd done several hospital stints over about a 3 or 4 year period. And I finally got out. I was like, I am not going back. And I wrote the memoir. A lot of what I was having problems with. I never really, when I was younger, a long time ago, I really never accepted my diagnosis as bipolar, which was my original diagnosis. And I really never accepted it, so I was not very med compliant. I'd go year here and there, but I was always mad about it, never happy about taking the meds. And finally,
Yeah.
I thought in 2009, I got it through my head that I needed to take my meds. And I wrote the book. I said, I'm people that tell me you don't need to take your meds because you're just being weak. You just need to think through it. You know, the movie A Beautiful Mind had come out around then. And they were like, oh, yeah. And I wrote this book.
Mind
I was like,
over matter. That's what I
mind
hear
over
a lot.
matter. And I was like, I'm going to write this book and tell them exactly what goes on in my head. And if you tell me this person, being me, doesn't need to take medication to have even a chance at a normal life, then read it. And there's no doubt. I mean, it's just constantly erratic behavior.
I will say that it's very powerful that you were able to write down what was going on in your mind because a lot of people are not able in situations like that, and it's chaos. Sometimes it's just chaos in the mind, and being able to write it down and be able to explain it for you, that's amazing, and that's a very powerful to be able to do that.
People are surprised that I can remember that. Now, you got to remember this stuff was written in 2009, and I wrote it in 2009. So 90% of the book is written between 98 and 2009. And then I wrote a 10-page epilogue of what happened to me between 2011 and 2020 when I was properly diagnosed with schizophrenia and an extreme case of OCD. Now, the OCD was really the key to the whole thing, and which is a hard one to medicate, but is really the harder one. Schizophrenia, in my experience, is pretty treatable once you're on the right medication. And I have a friend that has a very similar diagnosis, and he takes similar medication, and he would agree as well that the schizophrenia, you can, with today's medication, Abilify, I use Abilify, that's great. Cyprexa is another one. You can do pretty well for most people. I mean, for a lot of people it works. It just certainly doesn't work for everybody.
Can you, and I'm asking this from because you're a person that's very open, and I'm asking this, uh, being someone that has issues, daily issues themselves. There's certain days that I struggle more than others. And I have certain little practices that I use to kind of help me get through. I don't have schizophrenia, and that's kind of one that we really haven't really had on here yet, and one that is very intriguing to me. Very, very intriguing to me. On those rough days, do you have like a set of things that you do to help like re-navigate you, recenter you?
The main things I really try to focus on, I try to keep a routine. I try. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I try to get up in the morning. I've got the guy I'm telling you about. He sleeps till noon. He kind of lives with me. He sleeps till noon. They're like, you sleep till noon. You're going to have some problems. I mean, you got to get up at a normal hour. I get up. I sleep only like 5 hours a night, so I'm up at 5 in the morning. I like to get up early and go, but that's not for everybody. But you need to get on a regular schedule. If you work this midnight shift, that's different. But if you're just living, you need to be on a routine. And I recommend exercise, even I ride a stationary bike every day or most days, but I mean, I would love to be able to walk 30 minutes. I just have a bad ankle and I can't, or I could, and it would just hurt too much. But I mean, I would recommend a 30-minute walk and keeping a routine. That's really the gist of and take my medicine, of course. I mean, medicine is the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing. If you don't take your medicine, put it this way, if there's any listeners who are thinking, if somebody's told you you need to take medicine, then you probably need to take medicine. I mean, I wouldn't really be questioning them too much. I mean, I questioned it for 20 years, but in the back of my head, I knew they were right. I just didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to admit the weakness because I knew felt better when I was taking medication, but I didn't want to admit the weakness. It's basically what it came down to.
Mm-hmm.
Real
Which is
stubborn.
not.
We're stupid. Stubborn.
Yes.
I
Um,
will say that I think the biggest thing is a lot of people look at medication as a bad thing now, and not actually going to help me either. And
yes.
getting a routine is hard for a lot of people, but I do
Oh, yeah.
agree. It helps you, it helps you as a person, period.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think a routine is really the most. I mean, I think a routine is most important. I try to go to bed before midnight, and I try to get up around 5. I mean, just I don't really care what. I don't set my alarm. I just don't sleep much. But I've lived the lifestyle of sleep until 2 in the afternoon. I've done it. I was quite a bit younger, but I mean, I highly believe that the regular routine will and if you got a bad sleep habit, just gut it out for a day and just, gut out those days when you want to sleep it in the afternoon. Just make it your only goal to stay up, and eventually you'll get on that right sleep pattern. You'll feel a lot better. At least I do. I love it. I mean, it's one of the biggest things I've done in the last year is really keep a pattern. I write when I first wake up in the morning, and then I do my other business as the day goes on. but I feel like I'm a lot more productive between 5 and 8 in the morning than I would be between 8 and 11 in the morning at night. We were
Mm-hmm.
basically watching TV and kind of winding down, or at least that's what I do. And so I like to use the hours in the morning, kind of peaceful, peaceful.
Yeah. Gives you a little bit of waking up early, and it also helps with your circadian rhythm and with the regulating your body, regulating your nervous system, keeping a routine. Me, I have to sleep more than 5 hours a night. I can't
Of course.
with my head injury. That doesn't allow me to. Well,
Oh, it's
you know,
miserable.
I
It's miserable sleeping 5 hours a day. I'll tell you that much.
yeah, I bet. I bet. There's a lot of people I know that are like that though, that are just, they lay down and their minds run and run and run and run and run and run and run. My
Hmm.
suggestion at that point is get up and start writing. If you can't lay down and your mind is just running, get up and write. That's always been my solution on those things.
Hmm. Yeah, that does help. I mean, but a lot of times you're just, please, one more minute, I'll fall asleep. You
Uh-huh.
just, if I get up, I know I
I
won't fall
understand that.
asleep. I won't, if I get up and write, I won't fall asleep. I've still got a chance here, maybe.
Mhm. Yeah, well, yeah, we are all still human. I do that too. I go, no, no, and then
Right.
the mind just keeps running for 3 more hours.
Yeah.
Just one more minute. I swear I'll fall asleep. It'll go away. It'll go
Mhm.
away. Yeah.
Well, me right now, yeah, I have a baby, so of course sleep is not existence for me right now. But like last night, it's midnight. She falls asleep about 11:30 midnight, which is fine because that's about when I'm ready to go lay down. And last night it was hitting midnight, and I'm just like, I'm not tired. I don't want to sleep. And so, but then I decide, like, I get up and go to the room to lay her down because she likes to sleep in my bed. And I sit there and I was like, the second I walked into the room and sat down on the bed, I was like, okay, I'm really tired now. Like, it hit me out of nowhere. And so, surprisingly, I get at least 4 hours while she's sleeping. She's pretty good at night. It's during the day where she's a little funky.
That's good. Yeah. When I just a little off, I have no children. The only experience I got my dog is about 1 year old, and when I got her, I got her February 12th of last year, and she came with diarrhea. So she cried. She woke up every hour on the hour, and I had to walk her outside in the middle of the night. It's winter, even winter in Florida is cold. So that's my experience, and she did. She was remarkably strong, but that's my closest baby experience. I've never even lived with a baby.
Hey, you know what? Animals can count sometimes. Trust
That
me.
first year is
We
pretty tough. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say animals can count sometimes because sometimes you have to wake up with them every hour, sometimes more than that, to make sure that they're okay, especially when they're sick. And oh yeah, no. They just don't
Yeah.
scream. That's the only difference.
They just kind of cry, whimper. Um,
But
One thing about
I
another book I'm writing that is relevant that I'm going to finish on February 4th because it's called The Stoic Alcoholic. And
yes.
I've mentioned that, I believe. And it's titled 300. It was going to be the first 366 days of sobriety, but I have drunk in the last 355 days or so. But I have written about 150 or 180 days, and I write it. It's like a diary. I write each day about my alcohol issue, mainly my alcohol issues, but I can't get away from the mental health stuff just because they kind of go hand in hand. But
Yes.
that's what I really want to talk about. It's not so much the selling of that book that'll come out in a couple of months, is that the power of journaling, it really helped me. I'd been a writer for 20 years, but I'd never done any journaling. And that's how I got on the routine. I started to realize my good days were when I started to realize what was making my good days because I was really analyzing my behavior by the end of the day. Usually I do it at the end, usually do it first thing or last thing, whenever whatever. And I, just think about my day and just think about what's bothering me. And it was, that takes about 30 minutes to really reflect on your day. And then you come up with something to write down. It was an hour and a half project a day. Whether people read it or not, it was very helpful for me. I would highly recommend it taking an honest approach and try and write it like you want somebody to read it. Though don't write it just for yourself. Have somebody else read it, thinking you want to help somebody else. I would think that's if you just write it for yourself, you'll probably quit. And I did quit for a couple of months, and I was like, I still got this book, and it's still within the first 366 days. And so I finished it, and actually the new subtitle is going to be "It's Not About the Day Count," because I think a lot of people with alcohol or drug problems, you stay clean for a week or 90 days or even a year, and you fall off, and you just think it's all gone to hell.
You'd done it all for nothing. It was
You did
all
all for
wasted
nothing. And all
time.
you really did was lose a night, and you can get
Yeah.
back on. You can get back on it the next day, and just keep on moving. Life goes on.
And you literally lose more time the more time you spend beating yourself up for
Yes.
that relapse. The relapse is part of the journey, and as soon as you understand that and you grasp it and you accept it and you just go, okay, well, what caused me to relapse, and just go back into the healing, go back into the analyzing, go back into your work, and you just pick right back up. Because if you spend your days, which of course you're going to be disappointed in yourself, and there's going to be reactions that you're going to have with yourself. Of course, you've worked really hard for something that you really, really want, and you feel like you let everybody down. But your relapses are part of your recovery and part of your success.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't give up.
It happens whether it's it happens if it's a non-substance or a substance abuse too. It doesn't matter. It goes both ways.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. Like I have no doubt that I will probably drink again, even though I don't want to. I really don't want to, but I have a feeling I will. I just got to bounce back and just say, okay, just put the night before behind you. You will have a slight hangover because you hadn't drank in a while, and just put that day and just kind of beat up on yourself a little bit and just go, let's go on, let's move forward. It's just a day. You just lost 24 hours. Just think about all the times you could lose a month or two very easily if you kept on going. And
Yes.
Exactly.
A day is really not that big of a deal.
A day is much better than a month, a year, or even longer, because you wanted to stay in that vibration and stay in that place instead of being the warrior that you are and crawling your way back up where you were. It's just a slip down, and it's okay. You can crawl right back up because you've done it before, so it means you can do it again.
Yeah. That's what happened to me when I was writing that first. I did about 100 days. I want to do 90 days sober because that's the big thing in AA. So I want to do 90 days. That was my real first goal. And I made about 95 or 96 before I drank. But then I just fell apart. I was like, oh, it's the hell with it. I can't do it. I'll never be able to do it. And I went on a 3-month bender. And then I was like, I can, I set out to write this book. Let's at least try to get sober. It's not going to be 366 days of sobriety, but let's finish the job here. Let's try to work this. Let's try to, let's do what we started this for, which is to quit drinking. I don't, whether it gets published, that's all nice and, that's nice. But the real point is to get sober. And I am sober right now. I mean, I have drank in the last month, but I feel very good at where I am right now. I mean, like I said, I didn't fall apart. I drank one day and I was disappointed. I was mad. I was like, why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? But I did it, and you move on.
And here you are, and you're able to talk about it. That a lot of people don't know how to talk about that because they're so ashamed and they feel horrible for relapsing or having that moment of of a breakdown, and then they go and they stay in it, and then they're ashamed to share it and talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you one. I haven't told anybody really that I'm not drinking. I mean, I have before in the past. I've said I'm never drinking again. That's the quickest way to get drinking again. I mean, everybody knows that. The quickest way to do something, say you'll never do it again. And I did that before I drank for about 3 weeks ago. I was telling my little nephew, he didn't care if I drank or not. I said, well, I don't drink anymore. Next thing I know, I'm drinking later that day. I was like, hell, well, that did me no good. So I'm never going to say I'm not a drinker anymore. That's my first rule of thumb is, I'm not drinking today, which is the AA answer. I'm not drinking today, but AA's good and, whatever, it's good. But, I'm not drinking today. Or I'm not drinking, not even today. I'm not drinking right now.
I was going to say, for me,
the day's not over yet.
For me, it was I'm not doing it right now. Um,
Yeah.
because like it took me 10 years to get clean. It took me
Yeah.
10 years of hardcore work of to be able to be clean and not go into seizure after seizure after seizure after seizure.
Mm.
And so cuz I knew, like I was like, when I realized that when I quit using, it would throw me into seizures, that's when I realized, okay, I have to do all the work I can while I'm trying to figure out how to get not physically addicted to this. And because I don't have a relapse in me, like I don't know if I will ever recover from a relapse because it might throw
Hmm.
me into those seizures again.
Hmm.
But it took me 10 years. It took me 10 years of using and work, doing the work. I used and did the work. It is possible, people. You can use and still do the work, and just because you're using right now doesn't mean that you're going to use, because literally it was a drop of a dime. I was able to just do it. Like, I don't know how, well, I do know how, God, but like, like at a drop of a dime, it is possible to continue to do the work and still be active use. The goal is the work and the inner work, and just to continue on that path. And you will eventually, just don't give up. You will eventually get there.
I agree, and it's kind of, and this is a little offshoot of it. Is fake it till you make it. I mean, just sit there and try not to drink. And like right now, I don't want to drink. A month ago, I did want to drink, but I really got to the point where I was like, it's not that I don't want to drink. It's like my life will be no better on any way, shape, or form if I drink a beer. If I have one drop of alcohol, I am not helping my life be better. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I have a light. I mean, a beer. Maybe I have a decent time, but really everything else is going to be bad, and I'm not even going to have that decent time because I drink alone mostly now. I mean, what's the point? And
Hmm.
but you eventually you just gotta you work it, and finally you're just like, why am I? It's just not that hard. And I read a book recently. It's called Spontaneous Sobriety. Is that you finally just hit that point where all of a sudden just you kind of have a moment of enlightenment. But, I mean, it doesn't come. I mean, it's not going to come like a snap of the fingers. You have to work for it. You have to work
Yes.
Yes.
for it. But you get to that point where, like, this really isn't that difficult. I just don't have. I just don't need to do it. I mean, it is real. I mean, it sounds simple and it is very hard, but you get to that point where it's just okay. At least I did. I think I am.
Mm.
I mean, I'm not crazy enough to think I won't slip, but right now I feel like I just don't want to drink. I mean, like it just doesn't. What good is it going to do me?
The point that I got to, was like when I first stopped using, so I kept my tools around
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
in case I started having seizures.
Hmm.
That was the safety, in case I started having seizures. And I was literally, what, 12, 17 days into it, like long before I was supposed to get rid of my tools. And Giselle and I had gotten into a really big argument. And my first thought was to go and do that. And what I did is I went, nope, not happening. I've gone this long. I can go longer. So I went and I gathered up all of my stuff, all of my baggies that I had hidden. And I was funny because I recall going through them looking to see if each one even had anything. And then I
Yeah.
remember there was an aha moment where I was like, no, that's addict behavior. You don't care what's in there. You're getting rid of it. So I put it back in the pouch, and then I put it all in this bag, and I went outside, and mine was a glass pipe. I was a meth addict. And
Hmm.
I took the biggest log that we have, firewood log, and I just smashed it and smashed it and smashed it and smashed it. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell it everything I think about it. I'm going to tell it exactly what it has done to me. And that's what I did. And I'm out there and I'm yelling at this bag. And I mean, it's all on video, it's on our YouTube. It looks like I'm smashing a small animal. It is me smashing my pipe, people.
Oh,
But like, and then at that point, I went And I was like, nope, I'm not leaving it here. I'm burning it. So I went and I started in the burn barrel, started putting things in the burn barrel. And in the entire time, I'm just ranting and raving and I'm just telling it off and telling what it's stolen from me and what it's no longer going to take from me. And I mean, I just went into this rampage. My neighbors, I have no idea. I don't really don't care. They already knew I was crazy. But like, I just went into this rampage where I literally just told it off, burned it all up. And that was I think part of the thing that I needed to help that click. And like, that was something that was so significant that just happened because I was like, I'm not going back. I refuse. I can't do it. And that's what I did. And still here. But I go from the thought of immediately, I went from going, okay, my thought immediately went to that to, oh, wow, it took 5 minutes for me to think about getting high this time. Cool, you know, cool. And then it went to, huh, wow, this time it took an hour before I actually thought about going and getting high facing this. All right, that's an improvement. Cool. And then it went to, now I understand why I was getting high. And it wasn't me wanting to go to it. It was, now I understand why, because I was feeling all of this so much and I needed to numb some of it so I can get through. But it was like I was able, and I was did the work, and I learned how to just manage getting through enough of it to where it was like I can understand why I was like, please, I need this.
Yeah, I haven't read the book, but it's by Augustine Burroughs, who wrote the book Running with Scissors, which was really popular about a long time ago. He's really funny. He wrote a book called Dry. He said, I hadn't read the book. I do have the book, but I think one of the quotes on the cover was something like, "The problem with getting sober is that you have to deal with emotions." You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. That is the biggest freaking problem. And then since I was an addict from the age of 12, I didn't even know what emotions, what they really truly felt like. Like I
Right.
had covered them up so hard, and not only with meth, with other things too.
Mhm.
If it wasn't meth, then it was something else. Something else. There was always something. I ran to alcohol. Meth ended up being my DOC. It numbed me the most.
Mhm.
But go ahead.
What was I going to say? About I can't remember. It's something I had something profound to say, of course, but
That's how it goes.
can't think of it. We'll keep on going.
I will say that from a person who has a non-substance addiction is very much the same way with it's the emotions. You need to deal with your emotions first. I've been addicted since I was 13 years old to technology. I very much was in search of feeling some kind of love, trying in search of just attention. I wanted attention because I wasn't getting it from my parents and or my family. And I didn't know how to ask. I didn't know how to talk to them about it because I felt very ashamed or I felt like I was a bother or I didn't know how to speak about my emotions. Um, and
Or you wouldn't have
so,
been heard.
or I wouldn't have been
Let's
heard
put it
at
out
all.
there. Or you just wouldn't have been heard. I wouldn't have listened.
Yeah, it would have been you're just too sensitive, or you're.
Hmm.
It was always something of that sort, and so I resorted to online. There's because there's access to online everywhere I went. That's where I grew up in that era, so that's where I went, and it took me on and off for years with the internet to finally realize just over a year ago that what I was hurting, that I had something that happened to me at that time that made me want to hide it behind the screen. I could be something, I could do something that isn't me. I'm not that person. I can be somebody who can be loved. and who, because I hated myself for everything. I don't know why, but just everything. I hated everything about me. I wasn't pretty enough. I was chubby, and that had a lot to do with not having, I had some friends, but it wasn't popular or anything. I wanted to live in a fictitious world. And so my addiction became that fictitious world of wanting to be loved and willing to be loved.
Makes sense.
And and dealing with the emotion of that has gotten me far. Dealing with, allowing myself to feel those emotions and feel everything that I was going through, it I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have, my daughter. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be able to have the emotions that I have with my daughter.
I
That
remember what
is
I was.
an
No, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember what I was going to say earlier. What I said, I had a boss one time. He knew I was an alcoholic, and he was like, and I was probably 25, 27, 28. I was living up in New York. And he's like, when people that are alcoholics, when they start to have a drinking problem, their emotional maturity stops right there because they're
Mm-hmm.
just relying on the alcohol. They're not really growing. They're maybe looking older, maybe acting older, but really emotionally, they are still stuck where they were when they really hit their problem. It makes sense to a certain extent. And, I certainly am, 30 years, I'm a little behind. Um, but yeah, it makes sense to a certain extent. You do. I mean, if you start drinking at 16, which a lot of us, you said 12 or whatever when you first started doing stuff. I mean, 16, 16, that's pretty average, I'd say, where you start really getting ready, getting going. And,
Hmm.
you know, yeah, and you can get stuck there. And I really didn't like that boss, but those words really stuck with me. It always stuck with me. I was like, you're really stuck at probably 21 and you're 40 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense, especially when you go into the drinking or you're on the drugs, and then as you're trying to get sober or as you sober up, you kind of, from what I've seen, is you kind of revert back to being that person when you started drinking or when you started doing drugs.
You went
Crazy.
really robotic just so.
Yeah, yeah.
Might be my
It's been
internet.
kicking her out on and off all day.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, she's kicking
It's
out,
still
but
recording you.
Oh, well, I don't know. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Oh, well, I don't know. Apparently, I was saying something great. I was basically saying that when you stop drinking, or like when you start, like you said, the emotional maturity, when you go back to it, say you stop and you start to sober up, you kind of revert back to that person that you started at the age of, like 12. You had to heal that inner child when you got hurt. 21, you had to heal that person who, you were at that time when you started drinking.
yeah. Well, my dad was a pretty heavy drinker. He drank regularly, and he died when I was a senior in high school. I'd say that was about the point. Right before college, I pretty much said the hell
That
with
was
this.
it.
I was
Yeah.
already well on my way as a high school drunk, but by college, you know, I'd seen the pattern. I'd seen my dad do it. I sure as hell, I'd heard about his college days. I sure as hell was going to live mine up too.
Mm-hmm.
And I did.
Uh, and it's the generational traumas that get passed down too.
Yeah.
It's a very much a monkey see, monkey do. A lot
Yeah.
of people don't realize that that is a very big thing that we learn by seeing. We see it, we do it.
We
I
copy it.
100%, I 100% agree.
Whether we even understand it or not, because we won't even understand that we're copying or what we're copying or any of that. It takes the going back into things to see, oh, I was actually copying. Oh, this was actually being imprinted on me. Oh, this was actually being projected on me. This wasn't actually me. It takes that going back into things and
Mhm.
reverting and seeing things from a different perspective. And that inner child healing is definitely one of those things.
I'm always amazed at citizens who become like really good citizens, not, just good people, responsible citizens that come from awful parents. How did they pull that off? I mean, because I know how much I was affected. My parents were good, but I mean, my dad drank too much, and I drink too much too. But what if you had a really awful parent, and then like you really do well for yourself? I'm really impressed by those people that just overcome everything and everything going against them, and somehow or another they pull it off.
Right.
That's a really
Somehow,
amazing
some way
thing.
they pull off, and they don't have their traumas running them. They're not fear minded. They're not none of they didn't allow it to work like that. It didn't work like that with them. I agree with. I see those people, and I get. I used to be a little envious of them. Not anymore, because I've learned to appreciate my journey and realize that my journey has led me to where I am today,
Mm-hmm.
and no matter what success might look to somebody else, I feel that I have been extremely successful in my goals that I have wanted for, like looking through the glass. We're well on our way. Like, we're not huge, but I promise you that we're going to continue doing these things. But like, you know, I forgot where I was kind of going with that. It just kind of slipped.
Well, I thought of something. I wrote another book called Fortune Cookies, and which is like I wrote little fortune cookie. I wrote little fortune cookies, but they're like one-liners about what was what? Sorry about that. I was right. I
You're
wrote
okay.
one. I said, what was it? Oh gosh, I built up to nothing. Um,
We all are not
you
doing well
always
with our brains.
you can always do a perfect job in your opinion. That was one of mine. You can always do a perfect job in your opinion. So just as long as you think you did it perfect, that's good enough.
I don't think I did it perfect, but I did it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah.
I,
It's your
but
job.
yeah, no, you're the you can't measure your success with somebody else's, and what yours and what success looks like in my view, and what success looks like to somebody else are completely totally
Hmm.
different than places. For
Hmm.
me, success literally is the fact that I'm no longer craving drugs every single day. Success.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Deshaun.
That is something that I've noticed in the recovery community is that some people have a tendency of trying to relate to to other people's successes when it comes to recovery. And that is, I feel that's a mistake. You should not, because you're on your own path. Your path is not going to be the same as theirs. And I do that with life in general. I have a tendency of trying to compare where I'm at in my life compared to my friends or some other people. And it's something you should not do, because my path is going to be completely different. I got a house before having a baby. Some of my friends had babies before having a house, but I got mad because I wasn't having what they had, and they were jealous because I had what they didn't have. That's something that we should not do. And I feel that we have a tendency in society of pushing that.
Hmm. Yeah.
But in the recovery community, I do feel that we have a tendency of trying to compare our recoveries and the path that we are in our recovery. And I just want to tell people and our listeners out there, don't compare yourself. You're on your own journey, you're on your own path, and that you're going to get where you need to be at your own pace.
When you're supposed to be there.
Exactly. But I will say with Benton, what you're doing with your book, the journaling it and talking about it and journaling it out, I feel that that's, each day, the hard days, the easy days, the bad days, those aren't easy to share.
No, there's not. There's days when I wrote, I having a bad day, I'm not going to write. And a couple days, but usually I try to write about my bad day. But some days I just think, I don't really feel like sharing whatever's going on. I'm just not in the mood to sit down and do it. And, that happened a lot actually. But sometimes I actually wrote it down. I don't feel like doing this today. Usually I just kind of let the day go by. But
I
sometimes I
do
was
that
like,
too.
I'm
That's
having a
so
bad
funny.
day. No, you just let it kind of go by. Like, tomorrow's a new day. But
I
sometimes I'll
do the
write.
same thing. I'll write and I'll be like, I don't want to do this, but I'm being made to do this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's gonna be. I'm gonna miss the journaling because I am looking forward to ending it on February 4th, just because it's an hour and a half commitment a day, and I've done, like I said, I've done it probably 150 to 180 times. We'll call it every other day for the last, averaging every other day. But I'm looking forward to putting it behind. But I'm going to miss it because it's really helpful. It's really helpful with the alcohol. If I were continue to write about my alcohol problems for an hour a day, it'd probably be worth my trouble.
absolutely.
It'd probably be worth it. Just keep on writing, even though
Yes.
it'd probably be worth it, but I probably won't do it. But it would. It's been very helpful. It's been the best thing I've done for stopping drinking. Was the journaling was by far the best. And I read a good book. I think I may have mentioned it to you, called The Naked Mind, and it's a popular book on against that's it's not preachy, but it's a very good book about how this woman quit alcohol and how she didn't want. She's like, you can keep on drinking alcohol when you read this book. By the end of it, you won't want to drink alcohol. And I was like, yeah, right. I'll keep on drinking. And sure enough, I kind of don't want to drink alcohol anymore. She really just lays it out there that all
What's
the
the name of that
bad
book?
things. It's called The Naked Mind. Whoa. It's by The Naked Mind by Annie Grace. I know.
Okay.
Um, it's a great book. I've been telling, I try not to spout it off too much because a lot of my friends still drink. I don't want to run, scare them off. I'm like, really, this book really made a difference. Like, really? I'm like, should I read it? I'm like, no, you're not going to read it. But, but it really is good. It really is good. She's not preachy. It's not preachy at all. It's not clinical. It's just really a lot of common sense of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
people, we're such an alcohol society, is what we just take alcohol for granted, that everything we do is based around alcohol. And, people
Yes.
say, oh, the Mediterranean diet's good. Like, drink a couple glasses of wine, that's good. She's like, that's probably baloney. That's just not good for you. It may not be bad for you, but don't go around thinking it's a vitamin or something.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol is going to slow you down. It's going to have negative effects. Is the trade-off worth it? Sometimes, yeah, it is, if you can handle it. But
Well,
it's not going. The trade-off, at my point, is it's not going to help my life in any form, in any way. Am I going to have a better life because I had a beer, even
well,
just one?
if you really think about it, I mean, in America, the age is 21 to start drinking and being able to buy alcohol. If you go to other countries, it's the age of 18.
Yeah. My nephew just went to Europe, and he was telling me, he's like, yeah, they drink so much more responsibly over there. And I've been to Europe, and they do drink a little bit more responsibly, I guess, from what I can tell. But I'm like, trust me, Wells, they get drunk over there too. Don't think they don't. Don't think they're
Oh
all sitting
yeah.
Yeah.
around drinking one glass of wine and eating their spaghetti. They're
Well,
Mm-hmm.
drinking heavily over there too.
I think in some countries, it's even 16. You can start drinking at
Yeah,
16.
yeah,
But
And
it's
in
like
some countries, it's custom to have a beer with lunch.
yeah.
Like, these are very custom things. But it kind of goes along with how acceptable it is throughout the world in our society,
Yes.
and
and
how it really, really can become a very big problem for people that are trying to stop, constantly it being in their face.
Well, one thing I've noticed is kind of American, not really an American phenomenon, but it's just the drink tea blackout. That's, Americans drink really hard. Not everybody, of course, but, just the blackout mentality is right there. Just
yeah,
drink as hard as you can. And the only other culture I've seen that do it, I dated a Korean woman for several years, and they drink even crazier than Americans, but they don't drink that often. But they drink to get drunk as hell quick and sleep, and that's what they do. But it's an American phenomenon. College campuses. You just drink until you
Drink
pass
till
it's
you
out.
a
pass out.
it's a
Drink till
party
you don't
mentality.
remember. You don't
Yeah,
even remember what you did the night
yeah.
before. You wake up and you don't even know what you did.
It really is an
It
American phenomenon, from what I can
yeah,
hear and from what I've seen.
yeah,
Hmm.
from the American point of view, and it's a party drinking. It's I want to party and drink
Yeah.
and do drugs, and that's where it really is. Now I'm not saying it's not like that everywhere else. I'm sure there are people out there that like that, but it's really big here in America.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is. I don't have too much to refer it, but that's what everybody says. I've been around a little bit, and it seems to ring true to me.
I have to agree.
So, Benton, you please tell us where your book is going to be available? The one that you have now, and also the one that's going to be coming out. Do you have
Wrong,
when it's going to be available?
Wrong Side Out Madness Misdiagnosed is available on Amazon right now. It's um, Wrong Side Out there. It's the only one in there. Benton Savage. Type in the name. That'll pop up a couple books. But Wrong Side Out is the one I'm really pushing. And then the next one will be it is going to get published. I don't know when, but I would think it's going to be soon because I'm not planning on doing much editing because it is a diary. And
Mm-hmm.
editing seems
Exactly.
to be kind of, I don't want to have misspelled words, but I don't want to have it over edited either. And
Exactly.
hopefully, spring or early summer, I'll have it out. I think they complement each other well. And actually, the cover of the book, my friend did the cover of Wrong Side Out, and he's going to do the cover of the Stoic Alcoholic. It's going to be kind of a keyhole. And the key to my ultimate happiness is getting control of my mental illness, but the key is the alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Is eliminating the alcohol from my life because it, if you're on medication, you're pushing your luck if you're doing drugs for
You're
alcohol.
drinking and taking medications,
You're
yes.
fighting with an arm behind your back. You might be able to pull it off, but you're really fighting with your arm behind your back. You really need to
Mm-hmm.
just do it for practicality reasons. I didn't do it for 20 years, but I can tell you that's what you should do.
Yeah, well, I know seizures and alcohol don't mix. It is one of
Hmm.
the things that it's a trigger for seizures. So I
Yes.
haven't been able to drink for years. Like I remember one time I took one shot with my cousin on Christmas, and boy, oh boy, seizure after seizure after seizure after seizure that night. And I went to the doctor because I didn't know this. And the doctor was like, "Yeah, no more alcohol. You can't. That is a trigger for seizures." And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I had no idea. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, alcohol is something that's non existent in my life for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
It's
But
funny.
I've heard of other people getting allergic to alcohol like later in life, and it's kind of a godsend. Not seizures, but like just like breaking out or nauseous or whatever. They get that
yeah,
kind of later in life. And like, well, that's kind of a blessing, actually. You kind
right.
of eliminates the. If it's going to absolutely make you physically ill, you're going to kind of get away from it. A hangover is one
Mm-hmm.
I,
thing. Seizures a whole nother.
I'm not much of a drinker, but the last time I had alcohol, I I had an allergic reaction and we weren't sure what it was. And we weren't sure if it was the cherry in it. We weren't sure what it was at all. And I really haven't had anything to drink since then because I turned beet red and I felt like my throat was closing and yeah, it was insane. I always have alcohol in the house because I have like one or two parties a year and I will buy a bunch of alcohol and we don't drink a lot, so I end up having alcohol for 3 years. It just sits there. And so when people come into town or come over, they'll have like a shot or two. But yeah, it sits there. We don't touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I know that we have listeners that are currently battling alcoholism. We have followers that are currently battling alcoholism. I have people that are very dear to me that are currently battling alcoholism and is they're trying to find their way to that spot of being able to release it. because it's a scary thing. It's an absolutely terrifying thing when and it's just as terrifying as any other drug because that's what it is, and I know that they will benefit quite a bit, and that especially from your earlier on stuff. I know that you don't give it as much credit as I think you should, but your earlier on stuff and from this new book. So I'm very excited for it to come out. Please make sure that you email us and let us know when it actually comes out so that we can allow our listeners to know. We can say, hey, it's been released, da da da,
And then we
and
can have
that
you,
get it
we
here.
can have you come back on.
And yeah, we would love to have you come back on, have some more in-depth conversation. And um, alcoholism is something that is very, very prevalent in this country and around the world, and it's a battle. Yeah, no, I agree with I no, I absolutely
Agreed.
100%. I come from a long line of alcoholics and I've watched it. And I agree. Like it does. That's kind of how meth was with me. It was more of the it wasn't I mean there was the hard thing, but it was more of a slowly taking my soul away. It slowly ate at my soul and just made like took chunked away a little bit at a time. Famous last words, right? Famous
Hold
last
on.
words. It's kind of like God going, "Oh, you think you have the right? Okay, let's teach you." But yeah, apparently you absolutely did. The second time was much better than the first time.
It's that's
and
really
and
funny.
that's and that yeah, yeah.
That's what I said about the oxycodone. Because they gave that to me after birth, and I'm like, this is supposed to be like an extremely addictive drug. And so I took it, and I'm like, it made me sleep. It's all it did. But I was like, how the hell are people getting addicted to this? It's not addictive to me. But somebody was like, it's because they drink with it. If they have alcohol with it, and it gives them a high. And I was like,
Which is
okay.
extremely dangerous. Mhm. Yeah.
uh, Yeah, no, it's insane because what it is to me, it's just a pain pill that I don't even take. And but for other people, it is exactly what they need to get the high that they want.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yes.
Everybody, it's kind of what they say, to each their own type thing.
Well,
Let's put the
Ben,
humor, to put the humor out there, to each their own.
do each their own. Well, Ben, this was a pleasure, and I'm very excited to hear more about your book coming when it comes out and it being released, and letting our listeners know, and maybe possibly doing some more with you in the future. All, all right. For those of you that are looking for Benton's book or feel that you will benefit from it, let us know. We'll make sure that we get the date out there for you guys. The email is 12lookin through THRU 34 the glass at gmail.com. I did it right. Ha ha. And if you have a story that you want to be anonymous for, we absolutely respect that. Your story still may have an impact, and it does matter. If you want to come onto the show, please email us and we'll get back to you. Thank you all for listening and watching.